Hi guys, and welcome to the radiocontrol.co.uk YouTube channel. Today we're looking at how to paint an RC body. It's an area that I've definitely been weaker on in the past, and I'm trying to put a lot of effort into getting better. Definitely recommend anyone who tries to do this uses a respirator. Paint fumes are dangerous and the particles, you don't want to breathe them. I know, because I used to work in a body shop and for real cars, and used to come home with different color boogers every single day. So the first thing you're going to want to do is wash the inside of the body. The body comes with contaminants inside, so you need to wash them off. Second thing is you're going to trim the body out. Third thing is you're going to sand all the edges so you've got nice smooth edges. Then you're going to mask everything off, and you're going to take the masks that are either come with the kit or you're going to make your own, and then you're going to spray. So as you can see here, I've already cut the body out. I've skipped that out. I've used specific scissors. So you can buy them on our website, body scissors. They're a lot easier. They're kind of like nail scissors, so you can get in. And I definitely cut a little bit short of where you want to be. And then you can either use a sanding tool to try and get a little bit closer to where you need to be. I definitely recommend doing that. What you can see here is I've got the mask already on inside. Remember guys, you paint on the inside of the body shell. There's a film on the outside that you will remove once you're done, and that's on there to protect any kind of overspray. So definitely leave that on, that film, you leave that on until you're completed. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going around the edge of all the masking. You don't need to have the whole sticker down. It's just the most important part is the very edge. So the very edge, especially when it's clear like this, when you're using clear vinyl stickers, because you can see the bubbles through the body shell, you can just use your nail to push it down and make sure it's really tight and all that air is gone from in between the body shell and the sticker. It just means that you're not going to get any bleeding going through, and that's where you're going to really get make the difference between something that looks really good and clean versus something that looks like it hasn't been done particularly well. Those edges are going to be really important, so make sure you run down those edges. As I mentioned, you've got to use a respirator, and even when you're using a respirator, it doesn't filter out the fumes, so you still need to do this in a well ventilated area. And if you're under 16, really should be asking an adult to help you do this. Health and safety is important. So once you've got everything prepped, you're going to want an area where you can paint. So this can either be done outside if it's sunny. Just bear in mind you don't want any debris coming off any trees or any kind of dust blowing around. I'm just doing it inside. I do have the door open, I've got the window open. And I'm spraying it in a box just to make sure that I don't contaminate or get mess everywhere. So the first thing you're going to do is lay down a really soft, thin layer. And that is for the rest of the paint to adhere to. You also want a really fine layer because it will not bleed. If you have any gaps on the masking, it won't bleed if you have a thin layer. So you're going to paint the thin layer, and then you're going to let it dry. It's also good to have a light behind you so you can see through and you can see any thin patches. What I'm doing here is just trying to make sure that I've got good coverage without getting too thick. Okay, and then that's coat 1 done, and I'm just going to go in for coat 2. So I did leave that to dry for about half an hour. in a warm room with a heater on, so that does help. And now I'm like laying it on slightly thicker. What I will be doing later is adding an undercoat to it that helps the color come out. I actually use yellow on this one to try and give it a bit more of a greeny kind of tinge to it, kind of like pearlescent. And it kind of worked, but it didn't make loads of difference because I did add enough paint. It's got a thick enough layer. A lot of people will use white underneath to make have a white backing. But one thing you've got to do when you're doing a backing is make sure that you have thick enough paint and the layer of paint is consistent. If it's not consistent, then you're going to get really differing colors from one area to the next if you add a second color. So this is the third coat, and as you can see, I'm getting thicker and thicker on the blue to make sure that it's even all over. Short sprays and keeping the can moving so you don't end up with any runs. The worst thing that you can do is get too much paint on and it runs, and then you end up with really strange colors from where the paint runs. Keep that can moving, keep it shaked so you've shaken so you've got right consistency of paint coming through. I'm using Tamiya spray can paint. This is the simplest way, most straightforward way to get decent one color paint job. If you want to go more advanced, and hopefully I will be doing this in the next few videos, then you're going to want an airbrush, you're going to want to use liquid mask, and things get a lot more expensive to do it properly. I have tried to do more advanced paint jobs without going and having really expensive kit, and it just becomes really, really difficult. You know, you try and make masking out of masking tape to try and add a design, and the detail and the level of finesse just are not there when you try and do that. So definitely, if you're really interested in getting better at painting, then do follow this series and follow along. I will be learning along the way myself. Like I said, it's an area of weakness for me, so I want to try and get better and better. Starting to look pretty good. Pretty happy with the color. It's very hard to tell if it's consistently the same thickness, so I'll get a light out in a minute and have a look at how thick it is. But keep on adding those layers and definitely focus on where your paint isn't reaching. So on the bumpers on this body, you've got to try and get in further deep in the shell to try and get the right angle. And actually, when I noticed when I added the yellow, I actually have quite a kind of visible green section on the bumper where I wasn't getting the right angle on the bumper, and yeah, it wasn't thick enough. So not the perfect result, but every single time you do this, you're going to get better and better. And if you follow the process, you will get better results every single time. Okay, so now I'm going to get a really bright light and have a look at it in more detail, try and look through the body and see if I've got a good consistency before I put a backing to it. So as you can see through the light, it's kind of hard to tell with the camera, but I've got a pretty good consistency. I needed to have done a more thorough check when I did that to go around all the body, but I was just doing it for the camera. So I think if I was not doing it for the camera and showing the process, I probably would have done a better job, to be honest. Looked through every single part, and I probably would have added a little bit more blue on certain areas for this, and then giving a yellow backing. So where the areas of paint are slightly thinner, you kind of have a bit of a green tinge. Trying to go for a bit of a pearlescent effect. Whether this actually does anything or not really depend on how thin or thick your paint is and how consistent it is. But this will be the fourth layer of paint, so we've got a good coverage, good amount of paint, and then the next step will be to remove all of the masking, paint all the internal bits, because this kit comes with lights, so I need to get silver and make sure all the lights are painted silver or red, depending on whether they're front or back. And I might even fit some lights to this one. You know, it'll be really cool to get some lights in this BMW body shell. But I think it's going to look really good. If you guys have any tips or tricks on how you paint and anything that I've missed, like I said, I'm learning in this process. It's one of the areas that I know I'm weaker at when it comes to building an RC car. So if you guys have any tips or tricks, let me know in the comments below. Super interested to learn as much as possible. And if anyone has any other videos, please do link them in the description as well. Love to go and watch those and learn. I don't know everything, even though I own an RC shop. I don't know everything about it, so there's always stuff to learn. Every day is a school day. Okay, so now we've applied all of the paint, all of the color. It's time to take a closer look and do the super satisfying bit, which is removing the mask and see how the windows have come out. So as you can see, there's a bit of a green tinge, which I think turned out really, really well. Super happy with that. I wish I'd done it a little bit thinner on the rest of the body, but in certain areas it does look, you can get that green tint. So let's pull off the mask, just pulling off the rear window mask here. Most of it turned out really, really well. You'll see that I'm getting really clean lines where the mask is coming off, and that's mostly due to where I've really pushed down hard on the edges of the masking. There is one bit on one of the side windows that has a bit of a bleed. There's a couple of solutions to a bleed, so you can either find some paint remover. So I think Tamiya do polycarbonate shell cleaner, which will remove the paint. In this case, I think I'm pretty lucky, and I think the bleed is in the middle of the window. You see it just there, and I think that actually has some decals that go over it, so I might just cover it up with the decals. But yeah, I think this could have been avoided if I'd been a tiny bit more thorough and gone over the edges twice, specifically at that point. But yeah, you can see it's blue, so it must have been like the first layer or second layer of paint that went in. So maybe I could have been a bit lighter on the paint as well, on the layers, and let them dry, because it typically requires a bit of wet paint to like actually seep in through the seal. So yeah, being a bit lighter on the paint is less likely to bleed. But most of them are coming out really, really well. I'm super happy with this body shell. It's definitely one of the better ones I've done so far. I tend to try and be as quick as possible with these, and you need to take a bit more time. So I'm trying to be a bit more patient with these things, have a bit of a better attention to detail on it. And as you can see, it looks pretty dope. So super happy with this body shell. And so far, there's obviously the decals that need to go on. And obviously the top sheeting will come off as well. Just move that Vilalo out the way. We'll be doing another video on that Rolano, the unboxing video coming out this week. But yeah, look at that. I'm really loving the green tinge coming through with the yellow paint underneath, and can't wait to get the decals on. I think one thing I missed is taking out the headlights, so we'll just do that in 1 second. There was no masking for the rear tail lights, which I didn't notice. Which I probably would have made some masking for it if I noticed it, because there is like an internal piece of plastic that you spray for the lights that goes behind this piece, the main body shell, and that is for the front. You spray that silver, and I will be doing that in the next video. Because I don't have the silver paint at the moment, so I'll get it in, spray them silver. I'll try and find some chrome spray if I can find some, and then you sit that behind these clear little windows that I'm just painting here, and you'll end up with effectively what looks like real lights. You can even drill them and put the little bulbs in there and have like working lights, and I might end up doing that depending on how far I want to go with this. I think once we finish the body shell, we're going to build a drift chassis to go underneath this. If only I had like a drift chassis to go with this car. I just don't know what I'm going to do, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a drift car. And yeah, the one last bit that we need to put on, well, obviously the decals, but then we'll put on the need to spray paint the whale tail, or the spoiler. So to do that, we're going to trim off the last bit of the spoiler because I left it a little bit too long. These are the scissors that I was talking about that are really good for trimming bodies out. And as I said at the start, the bit that I always have trouble with is trimming out the wheel arches, and I always end up scratching a little bit of the protective sheeting off. So it's always best to like go inside the wheel arch, lower than where you want the wheel arch, and then use a Dremel sander to try and grind out the remaining bits. And that will end up with a cleaner wheel arch and less sanding to do. And you also won't scratch the protective sheeting. It normally doesn't matter because you don't end up spraying the outside. And if it's only tiny little holes, you're very unlikely to get any overspray going in. But if you want to be a perfectionist, then, like I say, cut inside the wheel arch and then grind it out a little bit further. Just trying to round off all the sharp edges on this before using masking tape to stick it to that stick that I've got on the table there, and then from there I'll go on and paint the spoiler. It comes with a couple of standoffs that need to go through the body. So what I'll be doing is I'll be getting a body reamer, which is a reaming tool which like helps you make the small holes into the body and into the spoiler, and then the standoff screw onto the spoiler and onto the body. So it's a really good body shell kit. This is an HPI BMW M3 body shell kit. Comes in around 30 quid. We don't currently have them at the moment. We are talking to HPI at the moment to try and get them on board, and really looking forward to stocking all of their stuff, so their full kits, all of their basically their whole line. But you know, the quality of this body, they're one of the best manufacturers for just bodies on its own, so I'd be really happy to bring them on board just for their bodies. But yeah, here we go. That's what the spoiler looks like. That I gave that 4 light coats on the underside, and decided that was enough, so just waiting for that to dry. And then in the next video we will be constructing everything together, putting the decals on. Please do like, follow and subscribe. Every time someone does that, it helps us improve the prices on our website, and the more we can drive traffic through YouTube, the better prices we can offer through our website. Thanks for watching and join us again next time.